Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are going to practice how to identify important details in text. First thing before we start, let's talk about why should I learn this? Well, for your task, you're going to need to find the most important and key details from the research you're doing to include in your presentation. This means whatever your research is on your state, you're going to have to find the most important things about that state to tell to the class. It's important to learn how to find the key details in a text. Our goals for the lesson today, you're going to be able to identify the main idea of a text, and then you're going to be able to identify the most important details in a text. So let's start with the basics. The main idea of a text is what the whole thing is mainly about. It's usually one sentence, and every text has a main idea, whether it's a narrative or an informational text. A detail is a piece of information that supports and adds to the main idea. A key detail is the most important detail and directly relates back to the main idea without any extra information. So let's see if we can practice this. Alright, so we have an example here. This paragraph says, Sally went to the park on Saturday and had a great time. She played with her dog and had some ice cream. Sally's dog is a golden retriever and is named Banjo. Sally hopes she can go back to the park tomorrow too. Now the first thing I know I have to do when I'm going to try to find some key details is first I have to figure out the main idea. Because I know that when I find the main idea, the key detail is going to be what supports it, or what it is all about. So what is this paragraph mainly about? Think to yourself for a second. Do you think maybe it's about how Sally went to the park and had a great time? I think so too. Now, there's one sentence in here that really describes that. See if you can find it. After you've found that, think about what's the one detail that really tells me about how she went to the park and had a great time? Now remember, a key detail doesn't have any extra information, just supports what the main idea is about. Alright, you got it in your head? Let's see if you got it right. Okay, so I said that the main idea of this paragraph would probably be the first sentence in green here. Sally went to the park on Saturday and she had a great time. That tells us what this paragraph is about. Now the key detail is in the dark blue here. She played with her dog and had some ice cream. That tells me what she did, and it supports the main idea. Playing with her dog and having some ice cream tells me that she went to the park and had a great time. Now, the rest of the details in this paragraph are not key details because they have extra information that does not support the main idea. Sally's dog being a golden retriever and his name being Banjo does not tell me about how when she went to the park she had a good time, so it wouldn't be a key detail. Alright, so now that we were able to pick it out in a paragraph, we're going to practice together picking out the main ideas and the key details in this article. So, this article is called Dead Zone, and it's a short article, so I'm going to read it with you. Each summer, a dead zone creeps across the waters of the Gulf of Mexico off the Texas coast. It's as scary as it sounds if you're a fish. Spreading 5,000 square miles into the Gulf, the region is empty of life. What causes the zone of death? Pollution. Fertilizer from farms across the Midwest wash into the Mississippi River and flow into the Gulf of Mexico. The fertilizers feed tiny floating algae, organisms that make their own food using energy from the sun, as plants do. Huge blooms of algae erupt and use up all the oxygen in the water, oxygen that other sea creatures need to survive. Some fish are able to swim out of the dead zone before it's too late, but everything else dies out. The Gulf's dead zone has appeared every summer for the last 30 years. A few years ago, however, scientists think that the dead zone might have been responsible for shark attacks along the Texas breaches. Scientists think the sharks came into the shallow water near the edge of the dead zone in search of food. In the shadows, the toothy fish came in contact with human swimmers in the wrong place at the wrong time. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is figure out what is the main idea of this passage. Try to come up with the main idea of this passage to yourself right now. Alright, so when I read this passage, I thought to myself that the main idea probably has something to do with the dead zone. So if I define what the dead zone is, we said the dead zone is the waters across the Gulf of Mexico off the Texas coast, and it's a region of empty life. So my main idea, which I'm going to write over here, is that the dead zone is an area of pollution where fish die. So this is my main idea. I know that this whole article is going to be about the dead zone, which is an area of pollution where fish die. Now, I need to go in this article and find some key details that support this idea. Alright, so I'm going to take each paragraph and look to see if I can find some key details in there. In the first one, it talks about the dead zone, which is creeps across the waters of the Gulf of Mexico off the Texas coast. It's as scary as it sounds if you're a fish. Spreading 5,000 square miles into the Gulf, the region is empty of life. Now, it's not really telling me what the dead zone is or that it's a place where fish die. So I don't think there's any key details in that first paragraph. In the next paragraph, it talks about what causes the dead zone. This is where it comes in that it talks about pollution. So I think a key detail, and I'm going to zoom this in, key detail for this would be pollution. So pollution, and then it tells us what kind of pollution is causing this. So fertilizers across the Midwest wash into the Mississippi River and flow into the Gulf of Mexico. So now I know that it's telling me about the kinds of pollution that are causing it. Now, this is telling me about the fertilizers in the algae and what happens to the algae. But I don't think it's a key detail because it doesn't directly relate back to my main idea. So, some fish are able to swim out of the dead zone before it's too late, but everything else dies. Now this is telling me what's happening in the dead zone, which we said fish are dying. So I think this might be a key detail as well. All right, let's check our next paragraph. The Gulf's dead zone has appeared every summer for the last 30 years. A few years ago, however, scientists think the dead zone might have been responsible for shark attacks along the Texas breaches. Now, this part's telling me about shark attacks, but if we said our main idea was about pollution and fish dying, shark attacks really don't fall into that. So I don't think anything important or any key details are in this paragraph right here. And then in the last sentence, in the shallows, the toothy fish came in contact with human swimmers in the wrong place at the wrong time. So this is still talking about shark attacks. So I still don't think that that's very important. So if we look, as we look at our article overall, we can see this is our main idea, and we pulled out 2 sentences that were key details in this article. Now, sometimes there might only be 1 or 2 key details in the whole article. There might be more than that. You'll never know until you really read the article and you decide, does this directly relate to the main idea or does it not? Alright, let's practice again. So this article is called Life on Mars. And this is another short article so we can practice together. So I'll read it with you. Right now, people are planning a one-way trip to Mars. Elon Musk, an inventor and businesswoman, is in charge of a long trip through space. He founded a company to build spacecraft. He planned on using those spacecrafts to bring 80,000 people to the red planet, Mars. Musk believes that the human race is in danger. He thinks that we're running out of room and resources on this planet. He's worried that humans could someday go extinct, like dinosaurs. Even today, around 200 life forms on Earth go extinct every single day. Musk wants people to live on many planets someday, so he's building rockets to take us there. Many people are interested in Musk's company and want to know more about flying through outer space. Getting to know Mars, however, is only half the challenge. Right now, it's impossible for humans to breathe on Mars. It's even possible for human beings to walk around on Mars without a spacesuit. It is no place to live. So if humans land on Mars, how do they survive? The answer to this question has a lot to do with biodiversity. Biodiversity is a term to use to describe the number and kinds of different living things on one place. There are many kinds of life forms: humans, dogs, and cats, birds, cows, and other animals. Different kinds of plants should be counted as life forms too. When scientists describe biodiversity, they don't just think about humans, plants, and animals. They also think about the entire ecosystem, or a whole community of living things from earth to sky, including bacteria and other kinds of organisms. And there can be thousands of kinds of life in the soil alone. Most of these life forms depend on one another to get by. So if you go to Mars, how many of these life forms will you bring with you? How will you know what you need? This is why Elon Musk is trying hard to figure out how humans will grow plants on Mars. Over the years, human beings have learned that soil is one of the most important ecosystems on Earth. In just one handful of soil, there can be thousands of tiny life forms that help one another survive. Soil allows plants to grow. The plants release oxygen, allowing humans and animals to breathe. And the entire ecosystem makes it possible for human beings to pick berries, go on hikes, and enjoy all the parts of nature. So if we begin bringing soil with us, maybe one day there will be a forest on Mars. Alright, so we know the first thing we need to do is pick out the main idea. Right now, I'd like you to pause the video and think about, what do you think the main idea of this article, Life on Mars, is? Go ahead and pause the video and think about it. Alright, so hopefully you've picked out your main idea, and it should have something to do with how scientists are trying to create life on Mars using different kinds of ecosystems. Good. Now, pause the video and try to pick out the key details that support your main idea. There should be only a few in this article. So, go ahead and get started on that. Alright, so hopefully you found your key details. And I'm going to go through and I'm just going to highlight some of the ones that I found. So in the first sentence, people are planning one-way trip to Mars. I think that's a key detail because it's telling us about how we're trying to go to Mars. Now, I didn't find my other key detail until the fourth paragraph. So this paragraph right here, and the sentence that says, it's impossible for human beings to breathe on Mars. It's even impossible for human beings to walk around on Mars without a spacesuit. It's no place to live. That's telling us that even though we want to go to Mars, we can't right now because the environment is not good for us. So then now, I scroll down, my next key detail is the answer to this question has a lot to do with biodiversity. So it's telling us about all the different things that we need to have in our environment. Then, I don't find another key detail until almost the bottom. So, over the years, human beings have learned that soil is one of the most important ecosystems on Earth. Maybe if we begin by bringing soil with us, there will be a forest on Mars. So if I scroll out, you can see there was only a few key details in this passage. Hopefully the ones that you picked out match the ones that I picked out. Alright, now it's your turn. So you're going to get together with a partner and then come and get your Frogs at Risk practice page. You're going to practice highlighting the important details with the partner. You can either come and get the answer sheet from your teacher, or there's going to be a QR code printed on that. So after you finish highlighting all the important details, go ahead and scan that QR code and it'll come up with the answer key and you can compare your answers. All right, good luck.